you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet and Natasha, Venter of Intuitive Clarifications. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea and sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the stars above. And I have a special treat for you this morning because Natasha is one of the contributors to the Energy Almanac. And I wanted to showcase for you what her contribution is as we're in the final week leading up to the early pre-sale orders for the coil bound books, right? And Natasha just happens to have a part to play that means that likely you would really want to have the coil bound book because she prompts you to kind of meditate and journal and get messages from angels or guides. And what better way to do that than a coil bound book that you can open up and you can write in. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you. And I am so grateful to be here. And, that's one thing that I love to do is bring light and love to this world. I love to bring energies into this knowing. I would love to bring those understandings. And I know for me that there was a couple of channeled messages in there even. And
I
that's
think the whole thing was channeled, honey.
Oh, it was. I do channel no matter what. And that's one thing in my sessions that I do with people go, now what do my guides want me to know? And I said, the whole session talking to your guides. But now I put that at the beginning of our session that if I'm just talking to you, just know that I am so connected that I don't discern who's talking to me. I just say what I'm meant to say, what I see to say, what I engage to say. But I do extra channel in, like, I think there was a channeled message from Mother Mary. I think there was a channeled message from my, I channel some, if anybody knows Bashar, this is the way I explain him, that he is from the council like Bashar is. And Mikkel is somebody who has been coming through me for now almost a year. I got the skull, and he holds that energy of Mikhail. And so Mikhail has been very interactive in, like Bashar has been, in upgrading our understanding. And actually I had a client who was saying, can you channel Mikhail again? Because he's been, he just, he has that bigger statement from what it is.
Now, can you channel somebody at will, or do they just kind of knock on your door and say, hey, we have a message?
I can basically, I know Mikhail's been knocking on my door now for probably, if Tams wasn't going to be on my show, I'm live every Wednesday at 4:00. If Tams wasn't going to be on my show on Wednesday, I would probably channel him on Wednesday because he's been tapping. So, yeah.
Good. So, what we have in the Energy Almanac are these contributors, right? That we give them the opportunity to showcase their work because it brings an extra bit of information into every month's astrology and the numerology and the moons, etc. So, Natasha of Intuitive Clarifications, her messages seemed, I don't know, Natasha, they were all, I think, very much channeled messages, as in, you tapped into what the energy is, let's say, of March and sat with that and then brought through that message. Is that kind of how you did that?
I did. And actually, I did it where it was like, when I get in going, I just did like maybe 6 months at a time. And just boom, 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 boom. And that's the thing is that when I turn it on, it's hard for me to turn it off. So I did card readings. I did each month brought in what the universe wanted me to bring in for a different message. And that was the gift is that I really felt like that the diversity of how I work with the universe came through that book. Like I was saying, one month I was channeling somebody, and then the next month it was a card reading, and then the next month it was just a channeled message of the intuition that I have. And, I love the diversity that the universe is bringing in for us right now, and I'm grateful to be a message for the diversity. And that's the word that wants to come through this morning.
Diversity.
Because that's the way the universe is working with us right now. Like the other morning, oh my gosh, this eclipse morning, yesterday morning was like, 415, 423, 444, 515. It was like, just the numbers were just downloading on my radar for these messages and then this website or YouTube channel I was listening to that I was pulled to do, was like bringing in those messages that I needed to hear. And then, here's another bug, on the playground that's bringing in messages. It's like, we had a praying mantis on the playground in Western Washington.
Honey, they have been everywhere this year. My son-in-law keeps sending me pictures he works in Mount Vernon and for an insulation company, and they get into the warehouse and they're on like the rolls of insulation, and he'll take a picture of one and it's got its little head down and it's praying. It looks like it's praying. And I don't know where they've come from, but we even had one here at the house.
I know.
Praying
Isn't that
So
amazing?
what's it telling us, right? Like, we should look up praying mantis. Somebody out there, look up praying mantis and bring us the message.
You're more of a reader than I am.
Yeah, somebody in my audience they will pull it up for me and they will tell me what praying mantis might have as a message. But for us this morning, besides the fact that you participated in the Energy Almanac, you are also vital in bringing some of these messages to people when you do readings. And they're specific and you've done them for me before spontaneously, channeling Brian, my son that passed over, and how do you know what goes through you when you have a message? How does it feel?
That's, I think, the difference and I don't want to say that we're all different, but
we are
different. There is a human difference that since the minute I've been born, because I remember being born, I remember more before 3 years old than after, actually, that I've always had this trust that I was meant to have a voice for the universe. There's always been something in me that I trust them more than actually I've trusted the person in front of me, or that kind of thing. So for me, when I get insights, when I get the push, like one year my husband wanted me to get a cake for my stepson and I just couldn't go get the cake. And it was like, I'm sorry, honey, I couldn't get the cake. And then here to come to find out he didn't want a cake, right? He didn't want the cake. And my husband was getting so mad at me because I was not. And here, I didn't say I told you so, but it was like, it just didn't work. And I trusted that I trust the knots and the do's,
the voices that you're hearing or the senses you're getting.
Exactly. And I do see things. If anybody says, I do have all the clairs. So I'll see a movie, I'll hear, I will witness, and when I see, it's more of a seeing in the movie in my head more than it is like seeing an angel out in front of me, even though I do, it depends on how awakened I am in that moment I am. Like if I'm driving down the road, I won't see an angel, but I'll get a sense that somebody's there, right? So it's that whole the whole negotiation of how the universe, and they have my whole life. I've known beings around me. I don't know how many times I said the Hail Mary because I felt somebody in my room. It's like I went to a Catholic school, by the way. It's like, they didn't mess me up, but yet at the same time, it's like that whole thing of belief. But I think that's the difference between me and some other people is that I trust that inner voice in me. I trust my higher self in me. I trust that part of me that knows what to do, because with my dyslexia, I didn't read until after high school. So I trusted that whatever I was supposed to do at that minute in time was myself that knew how to do better to get me through it. But then, other people in the world around us, they were taught not to trust themselves. They were taught not to believe in who they were. They were taught all these different things. And I was lucky. My dad actually was very intuitive. So he saw that part of me. And, like my family said, my dad's side of the family says, Natasha, we're all intuitive, but there was something different about you. So
odd.
I was a little more odd than everybody else.
Well, that's interesting because I pulled up your astrology chart this morning, because the thrust of the show today, besides having you here as my gift this morning, is about this lunar eclipse in Pisces. And now what? Right? Because this was a very powerful eclipse. And for some people, it was blatant, like right in their faces. And for others, it was a little bit more subtle than that. And I know you're going to have to leave us here at some point to go to school. So
yes, the latest I can leave is the 8:40.
Okay, good. So we have some time. So I pulled your chart and I wanted to talk about this because not only because it's a great illustration of some of the things you were just saying, but because I've created this thing called the Lunar and Solar Eclipse Survival Guide, right? And I should have put it Thrival Guide. Maybe I'll change the name of it, because so much goes on in an eclipse, right? And some of it, like I said, is subtle. Just harder to see. But in your chart, it's pretty blatant. And you also have
I'm a clean out of the house type of year.
Yeah. So as we know, the eclipse began in Pisces at 15 degrees 23 minutes. So just early 15 degrees in the 15th degree. In your natal chart, you have your natal midheaven, which is a very sensitive point, right? Anytime an eclipse or a planet hits the angles of the chart, the ascendant, the midheaven, the nadir, which would be the bottom of the chart, or the descendant, the hidden aspect of you in relationships, big things can happen. Or it just kind of shows us something of major importance going on. So this eclipse sitting on top of your midheaven, oh yeah, this is a big deal. And so then I'm looking at it and I realize, oh my God, that puts it in an opposition to your natal Pluto Uranus conjunction. You just happened to be born in 1966. And those people born 65, 66, 67 really had a very tight conjunction between Pluto and Uranus. And that is your dyslexia lives across this angle. Why? Because you live, your primary, you have Saturn, Chiron, midheaven, and Black Moon Lilith in Pisces. So you have a stellium there, really, of energies. Very spiritual, very much, in tune to the dynamic of the spirit realm. Well, when we look at as above, so below, the ground where we live is kind of the mirror of spirit. So you're seeing the messages in the mirror, and the mirror isn't correcting for the physical. So dyslexic, you're kind of seeing things backwards, or you see things as if you're looking sort of through the mirror. And that Pluto Uranus, in Virgo, of all signs, practical, down to earth, organized, analytical, is working very hard to try to take those messages and translate them. But it translates them through transformation, Pluto, and awakening, Uranus. So now, if we look at that eclipse hit that midheaven, which then opposes that Pluto-Uranus conjunction. So you have this huge energy of what I would call, seeing in the mirror, but maybe seeing in the mirror upside down energy. And now you're being asked to translate those messages in a very big way. Now, let's hold for a second here. And I'm talking fast, I know, because I got a lot to get out before you have to go.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because I'm totally getting it, because that's actually how I do it. It's like I flip it around right away and say, what is this here to teach me? What am I supposed to go from here? The universe, you got to give me the answer, because I'm getting these insights. Give me the answer.
Yeah. So the first step in the lunar eclipse survival guide, and I've got one specific for you that I'll share with you Friday, because I'm going to see you Friday anyway, is to name the tension. Because the lunar eclipse is the opposition of the sun and the moon, right? So you have the moon on your midheaven, which means that there's something going on with that energy of growth and expansion. Your midheaven's actually in the house of spirit. Imagine that. Because of whole signs, right? Typically in any other system, it would put it in your 10th house of career or profession. But for you, this is a growth symbol, right? This is how you share of source or God or goddess, whatever, words you want to use with it. And, so what is the tension that you're feeling? And for everybody listening, what is the tension that you're feeling? Because awareness is the doorway to transformation. If you're not aware, there's nothing you can do to move through the doorway. You're just there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Pisces eclipse on your midheaven shines this spotlight on your calling and your visibility and your career, even as a visible person. You're on a broadcast, you do events, and you come on other people's broadcasts, right? So your visibility is increasing, but also your life direction. And something big is happening right now around your soul purpose, and your public path is being awakened, maybe in a next level sort of way. And the opposition to the Pluto Uranus at the other end in Virgo stirs up sort of disruption and communication mindset and a whole bunch of other things, because the third house is the lower mind. This is the part where you actually live on the planet, so you have to use your mind. But how do you use your mind and express yourself through spiritual communication? Because that's what's coming in, and it needs to be said in this physical world. And sometimes that's hard for you because you're so up here, right?
Yep.
So the old mental patterns in your life have to be transformed so that you can really step into your higher calling. And one way that you might do that is to release any kind of story that you have around dyslexia. Yeah, so it is, whatever, right? The messages come in because I'm a mirror for spirit. Woo, there you have it.
Actually, I feel like my dyslexia has
Is a
been a
gift.
great tool for me, because I may not have been able to speak English, but I've been able to speak Fae. I've been able to speak, star beings. I've been able to speak all these different. It's gotten me out of the way so that, because like for me, I didn't read my knowledge. I listened. I felt. I understood. And there again is like, for me, I take a lot of people through what does spirit want them to know, and how do they transform their 3D world into being who they are. I'm a double Cancerian. I get emotions. I get it. The story of emotions. So how can we work through those emotional bases?
Exactly. Now, at the same time, you have a Cancer ascendant, Jupiter in the middle of the Cancer ascendant and the natal sun. So you have really, Mars is also sitting there in Cancer, although he's far enough away from the eclipse point, but the other three are not. Your ascendant's at 12, Jupiter at 14, Sun at 18. So that puts it in a trine to Piscean lunar eclipse. So it's showing that your personal growth and confidence and identity expansion are the supportive bridges for you into being visible, into this new level of visibility. I bet you the fact that you're participating in the Energy Almanac is one of those bridges, right, to more visibility. More people are going to see those messages than who have seen them in the past, and maybe put you further on the way in your calling. Now, step 2 of the lunar eclipse survival guide, if you will, is to reclaim the shadow. So name the tension. That was the first thing. What is that tension? And the tension might be a little feeling of fear around being visible, more visible, right? Or it doesn't matter what it is, you'll know what it is. What is the tension you feel?
Yeah.
Okay, right? and most of us always do. We know what the freaking tension is because it's there all the time, right? So reclaim the shadow. That's step 2. So all of you out there listening, first step, name the tension that you're feeling and as a part of life right now. And if you know your chart, it's even easier, right? Because you know what house it's happening in. And then to reclaim the shadow. So the eclipse highlights what's been hidden. That's the whole solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, because it's suddenly the sun is eclipsed and the moon is eclipsed, and now the sun is the brightest piece and you see it, right? We see it. Pluto Uranus in Virgo on the third house may hold shadows of fear around speaking boldly or over analyzing or worrying about getting it right. The mind can be very powerful in saying, is this right? if I say this, are they going to think I'm crazy? And these patterns may have kept your voice restrained in the past.
Mhm.
And maybe even still today, at some points, you might hold back what it is that needs to be said. But the eclipse demands that you release control patterns around your voice and let your soul voice flow more freely, right? And with your Cancer ascendant Jupiter Sun, and they're in a trine, which is a nice flow of energy between the eclipse and your first house of you, means that your authentic, nurturing presence and your own personal confidence as you do this more and more are the antidote to the shadow,
Mhm.
right? So the antidote to the fear, to the tension comes out because you've got, if, as you release overthinking and overanalyzing, okay? And the questions you might ask yourself, Natasha, are things like, well, where do I censor or over edit myself? Instead of speaking the raw truth, right? And, we all do that, but this
Yeah.
for you seems to be a big deal. And what is hysterically funny is I might as well be talking to myself because our charts align the same way. I too have a Cancer rising, which puts that Pisces lunar eclipse on my ninth house, opposing my Pluto moon conjunction in Virgo at the bottom. So this is just like I'm reading myself here. Um,
I think a lot of people are feeling that tension right now
oh
of that
God, yeah.
shadow that is like, and I know for me that, when I'm ready to speak an intention, I really have to take that breath and look at my intention. What is my intention? Is it coming out of, because a lot of the people right now are speaking out of anxiousness and fear and
Mhm.
anxiety, and it's blurting. It's that blurtingness. And that's one thing that I've really held in my moment is, what is my intention? Is my intention to make this situation better, or is it to demise it, or to tear it down? Is it to
Destruct,
because
yeah.
I understand disruption. My email this last week was about disruption, right? That disruption is actually a good thing. Look at it as, that, it's like when you sift through the flour of your life, right? You
Yeah.
have to make it into what the cookie wants you to be. You have to go through that disruption piece that, gets to hear the snake, right? We have to shed off that skin to see what we need to do. And like I've been telling a lot of people in my sessions, remember, snakes can't see when they're shedding their skin sometimes. They can't see what they're doing, and they can't see what's happening. And so they have to wait till they can see that moment. And that's one thing my dad said a long, long time ago. Remember, at this minute in time, you have this much information. Tomorrow, you'll have another set of information,
Yep.
and you'll want to make a different decision. But back here, when you knew more, when you only knew what you knew, you have to make that best decision you can. And so that's what we have to do right now, is make the best decision we can right now, and not shame ourselves into, oh God, why didn't I do that differently? It's like, because there's things I wish I would have said differently a long time ago, but now is my opportunity to shift it up into a
Absolutely.
different intention, right?
And here you are, like now we're as soon as I finish this part, we're going to go to your solar eclipse, because that's the big intention setting time for all of us, really, is the jacked up solar eclipse, which is at a karmic degree, 29 degrees of Virgo, right? So, but
Mhm.
let's finish this. Step 3. Step 3 of the lunar survival guide is really integrating with grace. Interesting, because grace plays a role this week in our human design and gene keys, with the earth moving into the gate of grace on Wednesday. And so integrating with grace comes right naturally here. So the goal isn't perfection. It's really not about becoming this perfect channel or perfect, you know, vessel of information for people. It's about integrating, the shine of your purpose, right? Your teaching and your public path, integrating all of the things that you're learning into that path. Pluto and Uranus in the third house are reminding you that growth will come through embracing the disruptive, embracing the transformative voice, not avoiding it. Can't avoid the voice. And Cancer's trine support shows that integration happens when you speak and with nurturing authority, like just nurturing with that loving voice that you have already anyway, balancing your power and empathy, right? That is the big way for you to do this. So for you, Natasha, this eclipse is about stepping into your true calling with visibility, like not hidden behind some screen, but visibility and confidence. And the opposition then to Pluto and Uranus says you can no longer stay quiet. You can no longer overanalyze. Your transformative voice is part of your mission. So
Mhm.
what you're doing is changing the world through your voice. And with the support of the Cancer Sun, Ascendant Jupiter, trio, you're integrating by speaking truth and warmth and authority, standing in your power as you do so. And so this eclipse is a cosmic invitation for you to embrace leadership, to release self-doubt, and to let your soul's message be heard. Amen.
Thank you. Yes, finally. Yes, I'm so grateful for this insight because I know, okay, so I'm going to tell how I'm going to show how the universe does this when we're getting these push for it's going to take about 2 minutes. That as I was listening to this podcast that I had, and it's from 2 people who have been doing tremendous work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard, reach out to them. Reach out to them. Send them an email. Ask them if they want to be on your show. Ask if you can be on their show. Be vulnerable and see. And I'm like going, how can I do an email that would be like, here's that shadow, right? How can I do an email that the words can come out? Well, they'll honor what I know, what the universe sends through me, what, I've lived through a lot, right? Whew, and in my 3D world, I've lived through a lot, and then my spiritual understanding of that process has been a gift. And then I heard, you got AI. There we go.
There's the mirror.
There's the mirror, and you've got whatever the G something is. It's like that. You've got tools. You've got friends who would be able to send the email to add, to give you a reference on you need to shift this up, and the human aspect of how that would be. And I just heard that as I was speaking it, so that's why I spoke it. That's how the universe speaks through me, because it's like I didn't have that insight until I just said that. It's like, so it's that process of trusting that we have to step out of the fear right now. It's time for us to not let our anxiety get us, because anxiety is a teller. It's not a block. It's a teller for us to say, oh, I need to stop and think and rethink how I'm going. I just can't leap. I have to weave my way through, snake my way through that moment of our life. And that's how I'm really excited about. Thank you for that confirmation that you just gave me, because
Sure.
it's I'm speaking up in ways that I haven't spoken up in a very long time.
And what a release that is, right? So let's review this lunar eclipse survival guide so that everybody listening this morning can go back and, look at their own charts and evaluate. 1, name the tension. If you don't know what it is that you're feeling, if you're, not willing to look at it, then this energy is just maybe going to pounce on you or just go by without your ability to do anything about it. So name the tension, because that awareness is that doorway to transformation. Step 2, reclaim the shadow, right? The eclipse highlights what's been hidden. So what's been hidden is now visible, right? Now, what is it you're going to do? And then integrate with grace, right? The whole goal isn't perfection. It was integration all along, right? So that's our lunar eclipse survival guide. Now, let's take a look. First of all, because people are just kind of late this morning coming in a little bit. So let's just remind everybody, this is Natasha Venter of Intuitive Clarifications. And I brought her in this morning because she's a beautiful soul and she has lots to contribute, but also she is a contributor to the Energy Almanac. And I just want to remind you, I've put on the screen here this morning the link to purchase your coil-bound book, as this is the final week for that, the 8th through the 11th now, right? Through
Yeah,
Thursday.
that'd be Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday, yeah. And if you want a coil-bound book and you want the bundle to be able to support, going to an astrology workshop in December and free shipping and all of the good stuff that comes with the bundle, as well as the coil-bound book, then to get your book this week, order it. Don't wait. Now, let's shift to the solar eclipse. How much time do I have here? About 10 minutes. Okay, let's try to make it 5 so you can close up with your wisdom. So I also looked at your solar eclipse, and the solar eclipse is at 29 Virgo. Virgo, right? 29 Virgo. And that happens to sit exactly opposing your natal Saturn in Pisces at 29 degrees. And the transiting Saturn is also at 29 degrees of Pisces. He's been there once, right? He already passed over that once and then jumped into Aries. And now he's back out of Aries and back onto this 29-degree Saturn that you have. And then remember too, this is Saturn will go forward again and over this. So you're having a 3-hit second Saturn return. The second Saturn return is always about paring away, pruning away the things that no longer matter, that just don't fit. So that's a part of this as well. So now we're going to use our survival guide, which is similar, but instead of, naming the tension as the first step, we're going to name the beginning. What's the new beginning? What is possible for you? And this is down in the 3rd house for you. That's where the 29 Virgo part sits. So the eclipse is this threshold moment for you, the solar eclipse, an ending that kind of flows into a new cycle, right? This is a 9-year, you said, right? So you're flowing into the one eventually, right? This is the nature of the numbers, right? They flow one into the other. And then opposite Saturn in your natal chart, you have a crossroads of responsibility that you're at. It's a crossroads, right? It's a crossroads for boundaries, maturity, of course, that's always Saturn's gig. And the square then is happening. There is a square happening to Mars in your natal chart at 0 degrees of Cancer, which puts this in a T square. Which a T square, let me see if I can draw it for you to even see here. The T square, we got Mars over here. We've got Saturn right here. We've got the eclipse right here. Oh, I'm sitting on a pile of papers, so this might.
But that's my life. Is oops, there's
the lines aren't going to be straight. But if we look at this, can you see that? Can you see the highlighted spot?
Yeah,
that's a T square. And that T square is pointed at what you're going to do because it's pointed at Mars. Action. What you going to do? What's that next step? So what part of your life is clearly reaching its final chapter? This is the question for you. What new responsibility or structure or new way of being is calling to you? It's calling you forward. And then how do you handle conflict and assertion, right? Are you aligned or are you being reactive? Emotional energy here because Mars in Cancer. Not exactly his thrilling place, right? There's emotion he's got to feel through. And the second step, embrace the shadow and the gift, because both come packaged here. Every new beginning comes with both, right?
Yep.
Because you're letting something go. Exactly.
9 is a 1, right?
Yep. And the T square can stir feelings of being cornered or overburdened, right? There's tension. There's a lot of tension in a T square. And the shadow is avoidance of responsibility, like I am just not going there, or maybe reactivity, or maybe emotional outbursts. But again, we're talking second Saturn return here, right? You've matured through a lot of this in your life. The gift is the chance to step into authentic authority. Using Saturn's discipline and Mars's courage together to build for your next steps. And your Saturn return is a rite of passage into mastery. And the eclipse just accelerates that initiation that you're going through. And our third step in the solar return survival guide is align with intention. So your solar eclipse is a cosmic invitation to set intentions, right? To really jump out in the world in a bigger way. You're being asked to build a new foundation that really supports and balances Saturn's maturity and Mars's courage to take action. So your intention should be about what you want to embody and how you want to claim your authority and be responsible as you move forward. So this is about building structures for you that support your soul's truth. Wow.
I am working on my frequency. the frequency of the alignment for who I am. And it's been negotiating. The universe is showing me the money situation, my relationship situation, my business, which is who I am actually, because I'm
Hmm.
meant to be a voice of light for this world right now that's going through darkness. And so,
Yeah.
and the shadow is, how do I trust that part of me that knows what to do?
Yeah. And then, natally, you have the grand trine between Pisces, a water grand trine between Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. It's a little off in terms of degrees, but they're, close enough that I would call it, a grand trine. And the water trine is about emotions and intuition and gut instinct. And how do I move forward with emotional IQ,
Mhm.
EQ, awareness, right? All right. So that is a quick rundown then of so the solar eclipse survival guide again. First step, name the beginning. What is it that's opening up for you? Align with intention. What is your intention as you move? And by the way, that isn't until the 21st, but you're already feeling it,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, I've been feeling
Yeah.
it for a while, actually.
Yes. And then third, align with that intention. What actions do you need to take? And this is everybody, not just you, Natasha. We're all experiencing this. What steps am I going to need to take to align with that intention?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Exactly. So, Teddy was saying that, the master of camouflage, worries of prayer, for this is for the
Praying mantis.
praying mantis, reflection within the mils. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you read.
Okay, masters of camouflage, warriors of prayer. They can rotate their head 180 degrees, reflexes within milliseconds. Females eat the males after mating, just have one ear built in, sunglasses. They have a stare but are looking around. Older than 135 million years. Eyes glow at night. They dance to their prayer in a hypnotic, or they dance in prayer in a hypnotic dance, and they can eat 3 times their body weight. Okay, somebody go look up shamanic meaning of praying mantis because that's what I want to know. And then Natasha, I totally forgot that one of the cats left a snake on my front porch over the weekend.
So it's that
Yesterday.
reminder of how do we slither through our life. It's not about taking it personal.
Yeah.
We have to center ourselves on the ground. I'm not about grounding anymore. I'm about centering myself through situations, centering myself through the understandings, centering myself through what is coming to me, for me, at me, whatever the story is. you know that it's about the energies, and that's one thing. My first Saturn return was the basic theme was that I was having kids at the same time my parents were passing away, and then
Oh,
I was selling my selling my childhood home, and buying the home I'm in now for 30 years. So it was like the 30-year scenario even at that time. And now I'm in my second Saturn return, which is mirroring a lot of what I went through my first Saturn return.
and
Because
a
that
lot of the shadows that didn't get
Uranus
cleared.
is doing that 30-year cycle right
Mhm.
now. And so hallelujah. I'm in.
All right. Well, Natasha, thank you so much for being with me
Oh,
this
thank you
morning.
for having
And
me.
remember, everybody, Natasha is a contributor in the Energy Almanac, and every month you get access to her wisdom in terms of the intuitive clarification that was coming through her for us in that book. So thank you,
Exactly.
Natasha.
Thank you very much for being here. And I will be live on Wednesday at 4 o'clock on my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter IC, with Chams, who is the contributor to this too, or the owner. And
She was the
she's going to be on my show. So
creator.
I'm excited to have that conversation. So thank you, everyone, for having me. And thank you, Janet, for reading my total confirmation on how I'm supposed to shake up my life into who I'm meant to be. Thank
All
you.
right. Take care.
Everyone. Off to elementary school I go.
Have fun.
Bye now.
Bye for now. All right. So that was awesome to have Natasha with me this morning. And I know she was kind of a surprise, but I like surprises sometimes. Okay. So again, for every one of you who was listening here this morning, if you take a look at your own charts, you can use this energy. I will try to post this survival guide information for everybody, especially because we're still not through it, right? You're still in the window of the lunar eclipse and also in the window of the next one, which comes on the 21st of this month, the solar eclipse at a karmic degree. So it's almost like, the universe is saying, hey, everybody, it's time to elevate, right? It's time to up level. All right. And I also had put together one for Tom, but I don't see him with us this morning, so I don't feel right sharing it without him in here. Okay, let's move on to the only other really big news for this week, which is the change of the human design week. So what you needed to know this morning to get through until I see you guys again on Friday. So the sun is moving into the gate 47 on Wednesday and the earth into the gate 22. So the gate 47 is called the gate of mindset. And also in traditional human design, it was called the gate of realization. It has a sort of epiphany feel about it, right? It kind of brings revelation or brings things to your awareness that maybe you weren't aware of or as clear on as before. And then the earth is in the gate 22, the gate of grace. And, grace is on the solar plexus. So this has to do with the energy of emotional awareness. And so emotional awareness and mindset, kind of bringing these two, bridging these two together. So let's start with the 47. Now it's so interesting to me that the 47 in the weeks of the month or the weeks of the year follows the gate 64, where we're in right now until Tuesday, through Tuesday. And the gate 64, remember, is called the gate of confusion in traditional human design. It is also called divine transference in quantum human design. So we have, this one is on the very top center, the head center. So it's where we're fielding in divine information, right? Ahas are, our information is coming in, but we're sometimes greeting that with confusion because we're not quite sure, well, what does this mean? Where am I going with this? What use is this for me? I mean, I don't know, right? I'm confused. The instruction manual didn't come with the download kind of thing. It's like I always think of the gate 64 as, buying a piece of furniture at IKEA and then you didn't get the instruction sheet with it. So now how does A fit into B and where's C and D and all of that? But then this week, the gate 47 from the sun, and we have the potential for that awareness of what all of that confusion was meaning. Like suddenly we found the manual, we found the instruction manual or sheets. So now we have this ability to have the aha moment or the epiphany or the realization, right? That's why realization. But a lot of times this has to do with our mindset, right? If your mind is closed down, because the gate 47 is on the ajna, the second center of the human design. And this is a gate where it's a center where we have our thinking, right? Our thinking processes are here. And how we think, if you have a defined center, is kind of caught up in a rigid pattern. If you have it open, you're more fluid in how you think, right? But sometimes the thinking for you is based on who you're around instead of your own thought processes. So the pressure then for us with the gate 47 is going to be about making sense of the confusion and the experiences and the information, right? All of the stuff now we have to try to make sense of. And in its lower expression, it can feel like mental oppression, right? Too much thinking, over analyzing, too much pressure to get it right. Being stuck in limiting beliefs, perhaps, or overthinking, or feeling defeated by, I'll never figure this out, right? That's the shadow energy, the lower energy. At its highest expression, and we're talking kind of gene keys here, is it brings epiphany and realization, right? Sudden clarity that recognizes or reorganizes the mind and opens up a new perspective, a new vista of what it is that's possible. And following, last week's or this week's gate 64, this gate is where the fog lifts and where the bigger patterns become visible. So we have heart, right? We have hope that the confusion of the previous week, which is, including today and tomorrow, will clear up from the 10th through the 14th when the sun moves over into the gate 47. Now that means the Earth is sitting at the gate. Oh, by the way, let's talk about transmutation with the gate 47 first, because before I go off to the Earth, because in the shadow, it is oppression. The shadow in the gene keys, mental heaviness, that victimhood through thought, right? Thought like, I can't figure this out kind of thing, and settling for less because I can't figure this out, or giving up because I can't figure this out. In the gift, it becomes transmutation. And transmutation is where we turn struggle into insight, and where we rework the experiences that we've had or are having into wisdom. If we can move to the Siddhi, the highest level in the gate 47, it's transfiguration. It's a profound shift of perception that sees through the illusion. And, this key, this gene key, this gate is very much about alchemy, right? I have a friend whose birthday falls in the week with the sun at the gate 47, and we had a very deep conversation over, lasting over weeks about alchemy, because she's an alchemist and she alchemizes, right? And she didn't understand alchemy. Well, alchemy itself is about changing something like lead into gold, right? It's about changing the experience, the victim energy into gold, right? Into selfhood, into, this beautiful perception of who you are and what you're here to do. So this gate 47, or gene key 47, teaches us that the very experiences that feel oppressive are really the compost for us to awaken, right? It feeds the awakening. And when we stop resisting confusion, trying to make it all organized and analyzed, the energy transforms into realization all on its own, right? Because when we let go of it, when we let go of the overthinking, then it leaves space for the aha, and then the alchemy begins, right? The alchemy. Now let's look at Earth in the gate 22, grace, which is on the solar plexus. And it brings grounding through emotional poise and refinement. It is a gate where mood plays a very big part in how it is that you show up. At its lowest expression, it can feel like you're trapped in moodiness, rejecting grace, or social awkwardness, or, wanting to withdraw. It can feel very lost in the crowd. It can feel very introverted in its lowest expression, because the mood of the gate 22 has moved into that more quiet place, right? It's moved over. And at its highest expression, hold on, goodness gracious. I didn't drink my lemon water this morning. At its highest expression, this is about grace and elegance and charm in allowing emotions to flow without getting stuck in them, right? This is where we're really learning about emotional EQ, an intelligence, an emotional intelligence. And this grounds gate 47's mental epiphany, the aha up here, by reminding us that how we deliver truth is just as important as the truth is itself, right? So when we're talking, if the mood isn't right, then the gate of grace will remind us that no matter how you try to prettify the words, it isn't going to happen. It's not going to come across. You're working very hard to get what you need to say across to people because the mood isn't right. And mood is related to timing, right? If the timing isn't right, the mood isn't right, it is not the right time to say what needs to be said. Okay, I hope that makes sense for people. So in the shadow, now let's look at this gene keys wise. In the shadow, it is dishonor, disrespect, a lack of refinement or a relationship awkwardness, right? Not being able to get your points across or be able to, let others know how you're feeling. In the gift level, this is graciousness, and it's about kindness. It's about elegance in how you speak emotionally to others. And in the Siddhi, the highest expression is grace, and it is a state of divine beauty. Even the heaviness of gate 47's mindset and oppression turns revelation without bitterness, right? Turns into revelation without bitterness. So the dance between the 64 and the 47 is so eloquent, right? The last week with the gate 64, divine transference and confusion, it stirred up the uncertainty within us, in our minds, right? And the feeling of, I don't know where this is going. I'm not sure what this means. I'm not sure what the message is. This week's gate 47 will crystallize the confusion into insight. It makes it clear. The download begins to take form in the mind. It begins to make sense. The code is revealed, right? That's this week, this coming week. And the earth at the gate 22, always the foundation, right? The earth is always telling us, what do we have to have solved first before we can really reach that highest epiphany in this case? Asks that realization be embodied in grace and not pushed through force or fear or arrogance, but shared with refinement, with compassion, and with beauty in the right time, in the right place, with the right people, and the right mood. The mood, the feeling, is what tells you whether you're facing in the right direction or if it's not the right timing, right? All of that gets caught up here. So, how can you allow mental clarity to arise naturally this week as we get into Wednesday, while embodying graciousness in how you speak or teach or share your information with others, or your thoughts or your emotions, your feelings with others? All right. Questions. By the way, I didn't get to say good morning to everybody because we jumped right in with Natasha. So good morning, Terry, who was with us this morning, and Christine Buckingham. Hello to you. Teddy, good morning. We've actually seen a couple things written by you this morning. Amy D, good morning. Patty, hello. Treat yourself. Julie, it's good to see you out there. Blessings to you as well. MD, good morning to you. And J-Lo, happy Monday as well to you. And Julie says, welcome, Natasha. I just purchased my bundle. Ooh, awesome. Thank you, Julie. That's awesome. And Teddy Hickox, was that the kill zone snake? No, this was not a kill zone snake because it was alive. The snake was left on my RV steps. And Heather, my daughter that lives here on the property, she gathered it up. She saw it sitting on the steps. The cats likely dropped it there. But she gathered it up and brought it to me. I was over in the greenhouse. Oh, and there's Fofi, who has a bird. Oh my God. And I can't do anything about it. You love cats, but then you don't love what it is that they do. At any rate, the snake was alive, and we released him back into the garden, hopefully where the cats cannot find him. If only I could go out and get the bird now. Snakes are a sign of healing. Indeed. I love that. And Julie says, I think I have a practice on my hummingbird feeder outside. Interesting, right? Hummingbird joy, praying mantis, which we haven't quite figured out yet exactly what it means from the shamanic standpoint, but we'll be looking that up. So Christine, so how, or do we look at the house our ascendant is in for the eclipse? No, not necessarily. I looked at Natasha's ascendant because it was in a relationship to the same degree the solar or the lunar eclipse was at. What I want you to do is get your chart, Christine, and look at Pisces. Find Pisces. And if Pisces is your rising sign, then yes, you're probably going to see how close that ascendant degree is to the degree that the eclipse was at, which was 15.23 degrees. So just round it to 15 degrees. And then take a look at what else sits at 15 degrees in the chart. right? Are there other pieces of the chessboard that are in relationship to where that particular um, sign and degree sit, right? And the houses, think about the house that it's in. Where is Pisces? In Natasha's chart, for example, Pisces was in her ninth house of growth and expansion. So the lunar eclipse was either shutting down something that was a block to her expansion or opening a door to or window to something that would create more expansion, more growth, and more, optimism about the future for her. And then the house, of course, is, going to be the area of life where it happens. Okay. So we could look at Pisces and what other planets do you have in Pisces? You can look at the house that Pisces occupies in your chart, and then look around the chart to see what other planets might be sitting in the natal chart at around the 15-degree mark. And I use about 3 degrees of orb, meaning it can be at 15, 16, 17, 18, or 15, 14, 13, and even 12-ish, depending on the power of the planet. All right. So I hope that helps. Crazy cats. I know they drive me crazy when they get the birds. I mean, they're really good at mice and they're really good at voles and moles. I mean, the more destructive, rodents in the yard. But why snakes? Why birds? Oh, please. They don't do anything really bad. Anyway, any questions, any more from people about their own charts? I kind of like doing this where I just pick somebody and I go through their chart, and especially when we have something big like an eclipse pattern that is crazy big, crazy activated. So I might do more of that, especially this week, because it's not a real busy week astrologically. On Thursday or Wednesday, we have the change of the human design week, but really, I think that was it. I'm not sure that there's anything on Friday even. Well, Friday, I believe there was. Yeah, Friday, we have a busy day. Saturday, we have a busy day. Sunday of next week, the moon is quite busy. But we might have time on Friday to go through another chart. Okay, so if you're someone that's interested in having me look at your chart, and I not just interest, but like maybe you're recognizing some kind of struggle in your life. You recognize that there's something that the universe is asking of you, that your soul is asking of you, that needs to be shifted. Then I hope that you will reach out to me and let me know, and then I can pull up your chart. And Julie, go through mine. Okay. And Kelly, oh, I hope the bird and snake are okay. Yeah, I'm sure the bird is not, unless it was able to fly away, because the bird went to the kill zone. The snake did not have a problem because we released him way away from where the cats play. Ugh. Life in the rural woods. What can I say? Oh, okay, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, get your Energy Almanac. Also, thank you for whomever out there of you has been going to the She Rises Summit and signing up for that. Somehow I got placed number 2 in all of the people that are participating in getting, people to sign up. That it just makes my heart sing. And it turns out my actual masterclass is going to be on Monday the 15th. And I don't know yet what time that will be, but I will find that out for you and bring it to you. But I was really happy that I was going to be on the first day so that, I don't get lost in the shuffle of all of the other participants. And not that people get lost in the shuffle, but, Monday, easy, right? So that's it for me today. Thanks so much, everybody, and take care. Bye for now.